This is Power Onward.
The podcast that unveils how power technology shapes your everyday life.
Estás escuchando Potenciando el Mundo, el podcast que te muestra cómo la tecnología energética transforma tu día a día.
Apa yang memberikan kekuatan dunia Anda?
Ito ang Power Onward.
Mit voller Kraft nach vorn.
This is Power Onward, the podcast that unveils how power technology shapes your everyday life.
Imagine this. You're in the kitchen, whipping up a meal. You've got all the good stuff, fresh veggies, tender meats, spices that make your mouth water. Every high-quality ingredient has its role, and together they create something amazing. Similarly to how quality ingredients make a sensational meal, you need the right components to make a vehicle run smoothly, efficiently, and reliably. On their own, things like brakes, turbochargers, after-treatment systems, they don't do all that much. But together, they're all a part of the recipe that's helping to create a cleaner, more sustainable future. I'm Kim.
And I am Revati.
And Revati is joining us today to break down why the right power ingredients are needed to make sure everything runs the way it's supposed to. So Revati, so far on Power Onward, we've talked a bit about engines and what it takes to power a vehicle. We've also touched on power systems and their ability to supply uninterrupted power. But what is up in the world of components?
First of all, power ingredients love that analogy because in components, we call ourselves the ingredient business. We have a legacy of over 100 years in Cummins. Cummins's component technologies have been providing everything that is needed to run a vehicle system perfectly. So be it turbochargers, electronics and software components, axles, brakes, emission solutions, it's just everything that is needed for the perfect recipe of a vehicle system.
All right, you've named a lot of things there, hence why they're components, right? So fuel systems, engine brakes, turbochargers, it's evident that these are all integral pieces. Can you break down how these all work together?
Sure. So as I mentioned earlier, component technologies not only enhance the engine performance, but also helps the entire vehicle system run smoothly. Turbochargers, for instance, offer air handling solutions that not only increase the engine performance, but also raise fuel efficiency and help a cleaner exhaust.
That's so cool about turbochargers. I have a couple of friends that are car enthusiasts. My hatchback isn't necessarily equipped with one, but it's cool to see how it comes together. Talk to me about engine braking.
Engine braking is special because engine braking is a key component technology that makes commercial vehicles safe, reliable, and efficient. Jake brakes, for instance, we have sold over 10 million Jake brakes now, and they have a new home in Cummins after we acquired Jacobs Vehicle Systems in 2022.
So cool. And you mentioned the Jake brake. I actually remember seeing the lathe that Classy Cummins invented the Jake brake on in the Cummins Heritage Center. So it's cool to see that. Can you tell me more about how the Jake brake helps with safety and efficiency?
So the Jake brake is a really fascinating piece of technology. So here's the deal. Imagine this really heavy truck that is carrying heavy loads, and the wheel brakes are not enough on their own to slow this vehicle down, and an engine brake comes into play in this scenario. So how this works is an engine brake turns the engine into a power-absorbing air compressor and provides negative torque to the wheels of the vehicle, thereby reducing the dependency on wheel brakes and increasing braking performance.
That reminds me of an example that I've seen on the road, where on the highway, cars are constantly cutting off these semis, which are carrying and hauling so many things. So it's not just the main brakes helping the semi stop in time. It's also the Jake brake playing a role.
And an additional bit or an additional advantage to the Jake brake is that it also helps braking performance, but also helps reduce the wear and tear on your actual wheel braking system. That means it provides lower maintenance costs, like the additional benefits are lower maintenance costs and a longer lifetime for your wheel braking system. And all of that ultimately translates into lower cost of operation or lower cost of ownership for the customer. So win-win.
Definitely. We talked about the Jake brake already, but I know there's a lot more. What else is there?
A lot of other components, actually. So if we talk about hardware, software, and electronic tools that help troubleshooting, repair, and maintenance activities, they help us make sure that our engines perform at their optimal levels and are always doing their best.
Hardware, software, electronic tools. Okay, got it. Check, check, check. What about the integrated powertrain? Can you tell me more about what is all a part of that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So with the acquisition of Meritor in 2022, Cummins is actually now one of the only few companies that provide fully integrated powertrain solutions.
Wow.
So now we have axles, brakes, drivelines, transmission, suspension, gears, you name it, and we have it. Then we have emission solutions. So emission solutions like the after-treatment systems, for instance, are integrated seamlessly into our commercial vehicles so that they contribute towards cleaner air and sustainable transportation solutions.
Ooh, emission solutions. That reminds me, emissions regulations is kind of a hot topic right now. Can you elaborate more on what these are?
Emission regulations are indeed a hot topic. That is because they're changing across the globe. From the North American perspective, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's, which is EPA for short, 2027 emission standards are expected to be a huge step forward in reducing emissions from heavy-duty vehicles.
EPA 2027, that's a few years ahead. Why are emission standards established so far in advance?
So when we say EPA 2027, what it means is that these standards will be implemented on the road starting 2027. Now, releasing these standards in advance helps manufacturers like Cummins, as well as original equipment manufacturers, make sure that their products meet these emission regulations and are ready for 2027.
That makes more sense. It gives us more time to prepare as opposed to saying, hey, these are the new rules and nobody is able to be nimble enough to adjust.
Exactly, yes.
How do after-treatment systems play a role in meeting these regulations?
After-treatment systems are incredibly important for reducing emissions from diesel engines. They help filter the exhaust gases before they are released into the atmosphere.
These components may impact the vehicle immediately. However, they also affect so much more. How do innovations in emission solution end up influencing things like air quality?
So as I mentioned earlier, when we reduce emissions, it means the air is cleaner. This directly impacts public health because it also means reduced cardiovascular and respiratory diseases.
How does the air quality affect the food that we eat?
Cleaner air means better crops. So it means we're eating cleaner vegetables. It also applies to livestock because cleaner air means healthier animals and better produce and meat. Cummins' innovations in component technologies, it's not just helping engine performance, but also impacting broader health and cleaner air goals. So next time you see a big truck on the road, remember that the technology under the hood is doing a lot more than just hauling cargo. It is helping create a better, healthier world for all of us.
Thank you so much for taking time to share the recipe and the components business with us today, Revati.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so what's the big idea for this episode? Just like a delicious meal needs the best ingredients, a top-notch vehicle needs the right components. From brakes and turbochargers and so much more, these ingredients don't just make the vehicle run, they're ensuring that we have cleaner air to breathe and higher quality foods to eat. When every part works together, we're not just moving vehicles, we're moving the planet towards a smarter, cleaner future.
Ini adalah
Power Onward. あなたの毎日に影響を与える
comment la technologie de l'énergie membentuk kehidupan harian Anda.
Thank you for listening to Power Onward. Your support means the world to us. If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast platform. If you want to dig deeper on what we covered today, check out the show notes for additional links or go to cummins.com/podcast. Until next time, Power Onward. We're from Cummins, the company that's been innovating toward the future for more than 100 years. We're no strangers to rapid change, global shifts, and economic uncertainty. We want to be your constant during the energy transition. Whenever, wherever, forever. Power Onward.